Hey, 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 what's going on? Oliver Carlin here. I'm coming at you from my house. It's really early here. It's everyone's still asleep. But I wanted to talk to you about something that I thought would be cool, right? To talk about today, and that's going to be this how would you like to lose weight permanently with this 1,000 year technique, 1,000 year old proven technique that was discovered by a doctor through a medical, like a 7 year long medical study.
So the big question is this: how do people that are overweight and confused about weight loss able to finally get the body of their dreams and be healthy while still being able to eat normal, not spend hours in the gym, or have to go to extreme measures to get there, even if they've tried before and failed? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Oliver Carlin, and welcome to Internalized Weight Loss.
So how would you like to do that, right? I think obviously you wanted to see that if you're still here, right? So doesn't that sound exciting? First of all, what is this thing, right? So let me just start with the way we think about weight loss, right? I know the other day I was I've seen like an overweight person, right? And even though I know the stuff that I know and I've learned the techniques and stuff that I've learned, I see an overweight person and I see them eating food, a lot of it, and my mind immediately switches over to thinking that the food they're eating is what's causing them to be overweight. And I'm thinking, well, they probably shouldn't be eating all that, if they want to lose weight, right? And I think for most of us, that's where we're at, right? We believe, for whatever reason, as society, we just believe that the way we eat is what's causing us to be overweight. We just believe the fatty foods, the high sugary diets, the unhealthy fast foods, foods of convenience, people not cooking their food, eating out all the time. We just assume that is what's causing people to be overweight, right? And we all have this desire to not be overweight. That's why when we see overweight people, like almost default mechanism within us is to just say something bad about them. Even if we don't verbally say it, we might think it. We'll think like, oh, geez, that person's really overweight. That person's really fat. Look, how can they be like that? And, for some reason, as a society, we look down on being fat. We look down on being overweight. We know that if we have all that body weight, that we're not attractive. That women, they don't make us feel good. That the people that we want to be attracted to us aren't, because of the excess body fat. We know that the health issues that are associated with all these excess body fat, like diabetes, which you can lose arms and legs with having that type of stuff, heart disease, dying young. There's just countless things we know from being fat that can happen to you, right? And we know that we don't want our children to become fat because we're fat, and we wish there was a solution to this problem. None of us want to have all this excess body fat. It's just something that is almost like a phenomenon that happens, and it seems like whoever you ask has got a different answer. Whoever you ask is thinking, this is what the problem is. And then even in the Navy, as a fitness leader, I was not able to talk about nutrition. I was just able to help people with physical activity. And anytime you ever talk about nutrition, it's this big gray area, like this huge gray area, right? Because people got so many different ideas about what loses weight. And the weirdest thing of all is everybody's losing weight doing something different. So to me, weight loss is like one of the most confusing things out there. And then don't forget about the marketers out there that are getting rich off of selling you that magic pill or that magic supplement that's going to just melt the fat away. So there's just bombarded with just a bunch of noise in the weight loss world. But all we really want to know is, how do we do it? How do we get this weight off, keep it off permanently, without going through some crazy shit like freaking not eating carbohydrates, not eating fats, going on some starvation style diet, running for 3 hours a day, going to the gym, just doing all these extreme things that we know deep down inside we shouldn't have to do. It's just we're programmed to know how to lose weight. And anyway, this is kind of this weird thing, right, that happened. But if you rewind the clocks, right, if you rewind the clocks 100 years and let's just say you went back in time and you were to ask them, hey, what do you do for, or you looked at the food they were eating. Actually, go back in time 50 years. Look at what the food they were eating 50 years ago. You would see that they were eating the same type of food that we are today. They still had fast food. They still had hamburgers. They still had sugary foods. But they didn't have a weight loss problem. There was no epidemic. There was no obesity epidemic in the nation at that time, 50 years ago. So it's like, that's interesting. And then if you ask those same people, what do they do for exercise to maintain that body weight? They would give you the deer in the headlights look. Because they it's not even a thing. Like, who does that? And so what changed? What caused this? There was an obesity epidemic that happened. And if you think about it, wouldn't it be cool if we could just reverse back to the way it was 50 years ago? Where they didn't think about what they ate. They didn't think about what to do for exercise. They just weren't fat. It wasn't a thing. People weren't fat. There was no obesity epidemic. There were still some fat people around. But as a society, overall, we were not obese like we are now. Okay? So if you look at that, and you look at the data, and you look at the statistics and everything, you think, okay, so what happened 50 years ago that caused this big shift? And it was the personal computer that hit the marketplace that caused this big shift. And it caused people to just be sedentary. I mean, shouldn't have to explain that too much, right? Office jobs, you're sitting at a computer all day, when before you were working outside. Manual labor jobs are gone. Working in the fields are gone. Tractors took place of everything. Everywhere you turn, technology has eliminated the need for you to move. Look at elevators. You don't need to walk up the stairs anymore. Look at vehicles. You don't need to walk anywhere anymore. Look at bicycles. You don't need to walk anywhere more. The list can just go on and on. Personal iPhone, everything's on your phone now. You never have to go anywhere. You can order stuff online. So if you start thinking about it, you're like, wow, I don't move. My technology does all the movement in my life for me, where I'm able to just sit around and do nothing physically all day long. So you think, well, shit. So what can I do? How do I fix this problem that's presented, right? We all love technology, and I know you don't want to give up technology, but where's the happy medium? Unless you just want to be obese and not be attractive and not be healthy and die young, what is the solution to your problem, right? So when I first learned about this, I was actually I was in a Ship Shape course, an 8-week-long government-ran weight loss course, and Mr. Martinez was the one talking about how he taught. Mr. Blair was the doctor that actually discovered the statistics and everything that I just gave you. And so after learning that, one of the big things to learn that I learned from the course was that physical activity doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be like, movement doesn't have to be like what you think it needs to be, right? It doesn't have to be this, let me go sprint as fast as I can until my heart's about to explode and then sweat's pouring off of my body. It doesn't have to be like that. What I learned was, if you look at someone who walks a mile and someone who runs a mile, the person who walks a mile burns, just say is like 175 person burns about 93 calories in a mile walk. Whereas if he ran that same mile, he'd burn like 130 calories, right? So there's like a 40 calorie difference there. And what you figured out was the guy that's running is actually bouncing up and down, right? And the guy that's walking is just walking straight line. Well, if they held a string and you straightened that string out, you would see that the guy that was running actually traveled further distance than the guy who walked because of all the bouncing. So the only reason he burned that many more calories was because he was actually traveling further. So all that means for you is you don't have to work hard. You just have to move more. Okay? That's all you got to do. So, according to the American College of Sports Medicine, to lose weight, all you have to do is 250 minutes of physical activity a week, or that's 2,000 calories a week. Now, if you equate that, well, let's talk about one more thing, and then I'll tell you that one again. So the reason why we ended up gaining weight because of the lack of movement was because they figured in the study that Dr. Blair did was about 100 to 200 calories surplus that you were taking in each day, which equated to about 1,400 calories a week, or 5,600 calories a month, right? Which equates to about almost 2 pounds of fat a month, or 10 pounds in 6 months, or 19 pounds of fat in a year. So it was a gradual over time thing. Right? You didn't get fat overnight. You didn't wake up and, oh shit, where'd all this fat come from? It happened slowly over time, almost unnoticeably snuck up on you. And that's how we became fat as a nation, because of the gradual change. Well, if you reverse that, following American College of Sports Medicine's theory, we would need 2,000 calories a week. 8,000 calories a month would equate to about 2 pounds of fat, 2 pounds of fat loss a month, 14 pounds of fat loss in 6 months, or 27 pounds of fat loss in a year, just by moving more. You'd be able to reverse that theory. Now, you're thinking 250 is a lot in a week. Well, let's break it down. That's 35 minutes a day, 7 days a week. Or if you follow what I recommend, it's 12 minutes 3 times a day. So you break that 35 minutes. So basically, if you just moved more during a 12-minute period 3 times a day, you would be able to reverse the epidemic. You'd be able to lose the fat gradually over time and keep it off permanently. So that's basically it. The only issues you're going to run into, you might think, oh, I don't have time. Well, the cool thing is, what I've learned through doing this for such a long time is you actually end up with more time. Like I was taking the elevator the other day, and I ended up getting to the floor before the people that were waiting for the elevator got to the floor. I parked further away, so while the people that are circling the front of the parking lot looking for that front row spot, I've already parked way far away and walked all the way into the building before they even find a parking spot. So believe it or not, it takes less time to move more, as weird as that may seem. Right? The only other thing you may run into is the peer pressure of doing these things because everyone else isn't doing these things. The only thing I can tell you is society changes, and society will change as more and more people catch on. But some people have to lead that change. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to just put forth a little effort to do these things. And once you start doing them, they become part of your life. You don't even notice them anymore. So it's pretty simple. And the cool thing, last thing, is you become more productive at work. Because, believe it or not, studies have shown that if you sit there and stare at a computer hours on end, your mind kind of goes numb and you stop focusing. But if you get up from work every hour to 2 hours and just take a stroll, clear your mind, you're getting your movement in, and you'll actually come back and be more productive at what you were doing to begin with. The last thing is just coming up with a list of ideas. I mean, you could probably come up with a bunch just sitting there on your own or using Google, but I went ahead and just made a little pocket book that I'm giving away for free. All you got to do is just cover the shipping cost, and I ship it out to your house. It's got 110 ways to get moving right now, and little ways you can just plug right into your life. In the back of the book, it has a spot to write down your favorites and any new ideas that you come up with that you like to do. And I also got a Facebook group together where we can collaborate ideas together, see what other people are doing, how they're able to implement it, and kind of help with the peer pressure thing to see that there are other people who are doing this as well. And so I feel like that would help out with getting the movement in. And my last little tidbit of advice for you is the second cause of obesity that he found was the size of the food has changed. it's the same food. We had fast food, we had everything. The same food is there. It's just the portion size is almost doubled since 50 years ago. So basically, you're eating more and you're moving less is basically the cause. So if you were to just eat like 50 to 75% of what's on your plate, instead of a whole thing that's on your plate of what you normally eat, then just by doing that little thing there, you reverse the portion size and you're moving more, the weight's just gonna freaking fall off, okay? And I use it in my life every day, and I tell you, I've been using it for years, and I love it. It's just part of my life by now, and I've been able to lose 35 pounds of weight and get the body I've always wanted. But the cool thing too is you gain a different understanding. Once you understand these little things, all of a sudden you understand the cause of the weight loss problem, the source, and you see weight loss differently as you start doing these things. And once you become a believer and you see the weight coming off, it'll all be better for you. So go ahead, get started moving now, and head over to my website, internalizeweightloss.com. If you want to get 3 times results twice as fast, I've got ways to do that, as well as you can get my free book. All right, well, look, take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye.